Fuck you, Steve. This podcast is live. Konnichiwa, bitches. This is the commission coming at you for the week one edition of the Ultimate Man's League podcast. Joining me, as always, is the owner of the Fozzie Fullbacks, Connor Hemian. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Doug.
He's fantastic, everybody, if you were wondering, just like he is every week. So, like always, we'll take your live on the air. If you have any, you can post them in the Facebook UML chat. We're going to do some week one recap as well as week two preview, but the reason you're all here is power rankings. So that'll be kind of in the middle of the show. That'll be the meat of the show before we get into our week two previews. So I will go ahead and turn on my screen share now so I can look at the box scores. Week one is in the books, Connor. Had a lot of big games happen. We'll start with last week's game of the week, a game that you and I both predicted the outcome of accurately. Fozzie Fullbacks 198, Rabbit College Rampage 174. I know you were a little worried at points throughout this game. Why don't you take us through, kind of start to finish on how this game went for you?
It was a roller coaster ride. Doug Sr. is not somebody to mess with. I didn't think I was getting out of this one alive, but just the way that the Monday night games and the Thursday games happened, it was crazy. I think I basically got bailed out by Kamara to make it a real answer. He fought tooth and nail, a lot of great matchups. I don't think we kind of like traded blows at pretty much every position, except for me falling at quarterback, obviously. But I definitely just got by. The score looked bad at the end, but that's just because I had a fluke game from Jared Cook. I barely got out. I think people should be watching out for this team in the coming weeks. They're firing on all cylinders. I didn't think he's going to be ready just this yet. And if Kerryon Johnson starts to get more of a role, it's only going to get that much better.
Awesome. Moving on to the next game on the list, we've got Carlo begins his defense of his UML championship. Beat D's Nates 151-115 in the game that was never really close at any point in the day. LaShawn McCoy, though, was on what looked to be one of the worst offenses I've ever seen in Buffalo. Is that something that Carlo should be worried about on a team that doesn't have a lot of running backs as it is?
It could. The only thing is I don't think Nate has the firepower to really make a difference with that.
That's true. Also, he did go with the Chargers defense instead of the Giants defense after I mocked him for the Giants defense thing, and then they get him -3. So sorry about that one, Nate. But I mean, overall, just not. I don't think Nate's got the guns for a game like this. He's starting Devontae Booker, who's like at best the third best running back on his own team, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But Carlo rolled a game that he should win, but you would sure like to see some better production at running back. Team Man Bear Pig at the Long Bushes in the biggest beatdown of the week. AJ 186, good for second in the league in scoring this week, and Long Bushes 126.2. This was an ass kicking. Is Pat in trouble, or was this a fluke?
I think Pat has a problem with his team in that it's just not ready yet. I mean, when he gets Sony Michel going, when some of those wide receivers put up better numbers, I think he's like kind of a slow build, which kind of works with the way he always plays throughout the year. You know, he's always kind of under the radar. Playoff time hits, and here he is trying to compete for first place. You know, I think it's definitely bad to take a loss at any point in the season, and I think you should definitely hope that it picks up sooner rather than later. Because if he starts looking at 0-4 territory, then there's a strong chance you're not making it out of there.
Yeah, it's tricky. 4 losses is a really tough spot because you could even be great from that point on, and 2 more losses and you're done. So. AJ, though, was kind of the surprise. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to power rankings. Those receivers that we weren't really expecting to do that well did really well. He got a lot of production out of his quarterbacks. Basically the team was just firing on all cylinders. So we'll get into AJ's team a little bit more during power rankings, but great showing from the first choice tournament champ.
Mm-hmm.
Ray kind of walked all over the White Sharks here, 147, 122, despite goose eggs from both of his tight ends. This had potential to be a lot worse for Adam, even though Adam had 2 goose eggs himself. But this could have been a lot worse for Adam. Ray, I think is right back to where he's been. What do you think?
Yeah, I think maybe it isn't exactly that I'm impressed with this win by him. I think he's got a lot of holes. I mean, his tight end's got him absolutely nothing. Big Ben had a bad game, but that'll change. I think the bigger thing to take away from here is it's a loss he can't afford while he's still dealing without Ingram. Every win he gets while Ingram's unable to play is a huge plus for Ray, because once he gets Ingram back, that running back core is going to get a heck of a lot better for him. Bilal Powell, although he didn't have a crazy game with Detroit there, when New Jersey's down, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of them. And it seems like even though Crowell got some really nice carries, but Powell appears to be the lead back. He got the first set of carries in the game. I just think that the way that the game went decided how much use he really had. So, if he can get through these 4 games, getting 2 or 3 wins out of the 4, he's going to be in really good standing, and he's going to have a real shot for the playoffs.
Well, plus he had James Conner, who absolutely erupted for almost 200 yards of total offense.
On the bench, though, I don't know what happened there.
On the bench. Ray's over here talking a whole about how great his James Conner pick was, and then he benches him for Bilal Powell. So I don't know. I don't know what we're doing over there, Ray. But James Conner, Chris Carson, Tevin Coleman, Bilal Powell, and Mark Ingram is actually a really good running back core. You saw Philip Dorsett have a good game. You and I both praised that pick in the draft review podcast. I think this is a really, really good team. That's going to give a lot of people problems. And not for nothing, he's got a great defense. I don't know if anybody else watched that 49ers game, but they looked really good. And then as far as Adam goes, more questions than answers here, but we'll get into that more when we get into the power rankings. In the closest game of week 1 came right down to the wire. Suck My Dick at 124, Pain Train 106.5. What was going on with Steve in this game? It seemed like he never got anything going.
Yeah, started Thursday night, pretty much set the stage for how Steve's team was going to perform. I was expecting him to come out and really put himself on the map. He's one of these rising teams that are supposed to be showing that they're going to be packing a punch for the playoffs, and that week 1 I did not see that, but his tight ends are still young. Hopefully, it was against Jacksonville for Evan Ingram, so I'm sure he's going to have better matchups. And Gesicki's just starting off, so maybe he'll get better production out of them in the future, but they did not help him this week. Luckily, Alex's team was just abysmal in itself as well, so he squeaked away with the win there. Matt Ryan's going to put up better points. Even McCaffrey and Howard, they can have 20-plus games. So, and Breda with 6. Hopefully, the 49ers offense isn't as bad as what we saw. Hopefully it was just because they were playing Minnesota, which I think is more of the case than not. But I think he's got a team that should be, putting up 160, 170, not 124. So hopefully we see more in week 2 of that.
You can get a win, though, when you have a game like that.
Mm-hmm.
On real quick on Alex's side of the ball, Aaron Rodgers is like a bad man. I have no idea what they injected him with in the locker room, but I want some of it. I don't know if anybody saw his post-game interview. That dude was a million miles away. But unbelievable throws all over the field. And also, if any Bears fans were wondering about that Khalil Mack trade, you're not wondering anymore. He
was amazing.
He basically was beating the Packers by himself in the first half. So
I joked. It was actually kind of close. I was joking around. I said, when Khalil Mack scored that or got that interception for the touchdown, I was like, I think he might have just scored more points than the Rams did later on tonight. So, and then he was close. They only scored 13.
Unbelievable. Khalil Mack, a absolute savage, and so is Aaron Rodgers. I look forward. Hopefully, Rodgers is healthy. Match here in a few weeks because I definitely want to see that again.
He'll be doing his one leg, jumping around thing that he does. He looks better like that sometimes.
Broadway Joe's Toad Point Trippers. Trippers 170, Joe's 135. game went pretty much the way we expected it to. Joe just had a lot of really poor performances from some players he was counting on.
Yeah, with Alfred Morris, I mean, he fumbled. He couldn't get anything on the ground. That was unfortunate after the great pickup. The one pickup that did work out for him really well was Deshaun Jackson. There was a period in some of the earlier games that I thought maybe he could catch my dad. He just never quite put it together. Watson's got to play better. Tariq Cohen, unfortunately, he had some really cool looking runs. He looked pretty great on the field actually. But I saw a lot of Howard. I saw him catching the ball now. That's a concern, and Sam Bradford, obviously we already know what happened there. So yeah, it was another unfortunate time for Joe. He always seems to get these kind of losses every year.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Kevin a little bit more when we get to the power rankings. But it's a good thing he's got a deep team because it's looking like he's going to be needing to use some of that depth here pretty soon.
Yep.
Let's see here. The Fozzie fullback Rap College Rampage already did. I guess it's Muppets Penguins is the last one. Muppets 131, Penguins 108. Kind of escaped with one here, Connor, especially with the Saints playing like that.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, you are very lucky that the Jets shocking Stafford like that. If he had a big game, or if Leonard Fournette had played the entire game, we could have seen you with your first L, Doug. With Collins, Hunt, and Henry all combining for, under 14 points, or just about 15 points. That was Tyreek Hill bailed you out basically.
He really did, yeah.
That's what saved you tonight or for this week.
Speaking of people who are a bad man, Tyreek Hill, horrible real life person, amazing real life football player. That guy's one of the best players in the league. He is just faster than in a league where everybody's fast. He's the fastest one, and that's saying something.
Still remember when you bamboozled him away from me, a pick ahead of me.
Bamboozled him. Oh wow, good thing I kept him away from the forces of evil there. We'll get into Tim. I don't think this game was very indicative of what his roster is going to do the rest of the season. I think this is a little bit of a weird week for him. Mm-hmm. Particularly, he had a couple of injuries. Matthew Stafford and Jimmy Garoppolo throwing I think 8 picks combined. So you're not going to see that most weeks. And the defense, who we thought was not going to be super in week 1, was great in week 1. Outscored my defense by 22 points. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead. Oh, do we have a question here? Nope, that's from somebody else. We have the power rankings to do here. Connor did the power rankings this week. And Connor, why don't we just go ahead and dig right into it? Your number 14 team and why?
All right, number 14 here. I'm sorry to say, is going to have to be the Pain Train.
Pain Train.
Yes.
Why is Alex ranked last?
Doug, why don't you go and tell me what all these players have in common? Giovanni Bernard, Kelly, Meredith, Samuels, Wallace, Bryant, Edelman, Seals-Jones, Cooper, and Anderson. Do you know what they all have?
Poor fantasy performances in week 1?
They all scored at least less than 5 points. Oof. Half of them was 0. You just don't win like that. I'm like, that is rough. I don't care if you have Aaron Rodgers and you have Tom Brady. When you have that many players performing at that level, that's scary. This is a team that needs a lot of work if they want to get 1 win this season. Let alone
should Alex already be looking at trading off assets for keeper rights for next year?
I think he's got to, because this
week 1, Alex out here getting flamed.
Yeah, sorry, Alex, but it's a dumpster fire right now for you. I'm sorry.
Dumpster fire! Wow. If he plays you later this season, I'm gonna
die. It'll be my 1 loss this season or something too.
Yeah, I don't know what the schedule looks like off the top of my head, but week 13, he just beats you when you're 12-0 or something. Well, 11-1 because you're gonna lose to me too. But yeah, Alex's team needs a lot of work. Who do you got at number 13?
Number 13, I have the White Sharks. Almost honestly, because it's almost forming into what Alex has. Not necessarily by Alex's design, though, but Doug Baldwin is going to be out. Marcus Mariota has an elbow problem. Carson Wentz, who knows when he's going to be playing again. You already had Shaheen go out. Jeremy Hill just tore his ACL. His players are disappearing, and unfortunately for Adam, he's never been someone to play the waiver wire. He's never been one to make. I don't think he's made a trade in this league, at least very few. And he's going to have to do that. He's going to have to start doing that if he wants this team to stay afloat, because it's going to fall apart quick. Adrian Peterson's going to fall apart halfway through the season. It's just his age. He looked good, but his age. He's going to start to fall apart at some point. Who knows how long Rex Burkhead can stay healthy for New England? There's a lot of injuries on this team. He's going to have to do a lot of roster work to keep himself afloat, and I just don't know if he can pull that off.
All right, Adam, not getting quite as flamed as Alex out here, but
we'll go see what he does with it.
We'll go ahead and move on to the number 12 spot.
The number 12 spot, I've got D's Nates.
D's Nates. After singing his praises all last week, you throw him in at number 12. How dare you, sir?
Well, this is an example of, just giving the waiver wire wrong. Sometimes it happens. It's not a big deal. As long as he keeps doing it, it's going to be great. I think more of it's just because of what he already had coming into the season. He already knew he wasn't going to win. He's got, guys like Kiki QT, Anthony Miller, Herndon for the Jets, Nick Chubb. All these guys aren't ready. All these guys are going to take time to develop, and I think he knew that, and that's why he took those players when he did, because he knows he's not winning this year. That said, what you're left with is, starting Devontae Booker, who is clearly not even the second on the depth chart anymore. Having Ryan Griffin start, unfortunately, he doesn't even look like he's going to be the tight end. He's going to have to make corrections on that, which, I think he will do, which is why I have him higher than the other two guys, because I think he can fix his roster a bit better. And he still has Dalvin Cook to hold on to. He still has Kirk Cousins. He still has Rob Gronkowski. If he makes the right changes, he can have a shot at, I think, the first pick tournament at being a champion. I don't know about making the playoffs. I think he knows that, and it's showing for his team.
Awesome. So it's an arrow pointing up, but it's still pretty low down there for Nate.
It's a
rebuild year for Nate, but keep working, Nate, and I'm sure you'll climb this list as the season moves on. Who do you have at number 11?
Number 11, I'm gonna have to give it to the Petersburg Penguins, another team that did a lot of rebuilding this draft. So obviously, when it starts out, things could be trouble. That said, I feel like a lot of the trouble were with unfortunate injuries like Leonard Fournette. I'm sure it's only going to be a game or two for him most likely, but a hamstring injury could linger and it could cause problems all the way throughout the season. Luckily, he has T.J. Yeldon as the backup, so he can plug and play that. His wide receivers are still great, so he kind of rises the ranks on that regard. Josh Gordon, without terrible weather restraints and kind of getting Cleveland up rolling, he's going to be a great player. Thomas still has it. Wherever Goodwin's at, I think he'll probably still come back. We'll see. But either way, he's got Godwin and Aguilar and Galladay. They all had great games. I think the biggest concern is Jimmy Garoppolo. I think a lot of how this team's going to move on to success this season is going to depend on that. But like I said, he's a rebuilding team. I don't expect him to get too many wins, but I think he's got the right roster where he can make a play at that first pick for sure.
Awesome. Number 10, who's the first person to crack the top 10?
Got to give it to the new dad, Broadway Joe Nuska. He's always got it rough. I just love that he has like two huge, are they going to get hurt quarterbacks on his roster. We all know he just decimates any quarterback he gets his hands on and pray for them every day. But he's got some good pieces. He's got Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley instantly makes him higher on the power ranking because he can put up a 30-point, 40-point game. We saw it a couple times last season. So that definitely seriously improves your lineup. He played the waiver wire well, so that shows me that he's going to have some of the know-how to plug and play certain guys and get wins that he shouldn't be getting. And who knows if we'll see Baker Mayfield at some point. and then we can get that stinker out of Sam Bradford in the rearview mirror, and his team can improve throughout the year. I think he's got some firepower. It's just got to come together, and he's got to play the waiver wire well.
Yeah, and we know Joe will be active. You can see he's already set his lineup for week 2. So I don't know if this is what he's going to go with, but he's made some moves. Like he took Michael Gallup out of his lineup and some other stuff there. So not too bad for Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9.
Number 9, I have to give it up, unfortunately, with that loss to the Long Bushes. A little lower than I think he would like to be at this point. But he's still got great quarterback play. Phillip Rivers and Alex Smith are going to get him at least in the range of someone every week. I think Devontae Freeman, once he gets that knee cleared up, hopefully, he played Philly. I don't take that 8-point game as a concern. I think he can bounce back really easily. Royce Freeman, although it turns out that there is somebody who he's going to be splitting with, the whole thought was that he might be splitting time with Booker anyway. So I don't think it changes Royce Freeman's value too much. It's definitely a little of a bummer that he's not going to be alone, but I think he can work well alongside Phillips. What's his name?
Philip Lindsay. Yeah, I mean the thing isn't so much for me to be concerned about Freeman because it is a split. We kind of figured it was going to be some kind of a split anyway.
Yeah.
I think the more concerning thing is that Lindsay outplayed him, and
15 carries, 71 yards. It's just that they just happen to need to pass at the moment, and the other guy got the touchdown.
I mean the Broncos aren't that good. I mean that could be that could be an ongoing thing. But I mean you're still starting him. I think if you're Pat, it's just something to be said there for Mr. Lindsay, who is not on a roster somehow.
not for long though. But and again, he's still got Travis Kelce put out a 1-point game. That's not happening again. Well, maybe. Well, I don't think it will. I mean, you don't not throw to that kind of talent. I think it'll happen eventually. So Travis Kelce's still going to come around. Like I said, he's got Sony Michel. He's got Marlon Mack whenever he comes back. He's got guys like DJ Moore and James Washington that could come into roles later in the season. He's got players that they're just not ready. And I think halfway through the season, we're going to see all these guys kind of step it up, and his team's going to improve drastically. He's just got to keep a level head and make the right additions and not drop the wrong guys.
It's going to be a rough week for him this week as he heads into Murderville to take on the Muppets. Number 8.
Number 8, I had to put the first winner that is going to get jumped by a loser, and I'm going with Suck My Dicka here. That first game was not good enough, so he kind of fell in my power rankings. He got super lucky playing the lowest point total team against most other opponents. That would have been an L for him. That being said, by next week, I think he could skyrocket up the power rankings. That's why he's still number 8 for me. He's got a lot of options. The bench can be there. Or the bench is the problem of why I also don't have him very high. He's got Ronald Jones. He's got Kalen Ballage. Who knows if Devontae Parker is ever really going to work out. Robbie Anderson may not fit the style for the Jets from what we saw in this week 1. And Cameron Brate's looking like O.J. Howard might be beating him out. He got targeted twice and didn't.
Yes.
And I mean, and then Michael there, he didn't even play for the most part. He had 2 carries. He's an afterthought. So
hey, 4.5 yards a carry though. Watch out for that.
That bench, combined for just one lucky touchdown off of one pass, and the rest is zeros, 0.9. So that's definitely worrisome. If any of his guys start to go down, like we saw happen to him last year, who's he gonna plug in? I don't know that any of these guys can really step into that quick enough. I think he needs to think about that, especially when buys hit and some of these players still aren't producing anything.
And the depth is where you see that trade that he did with me to move up in the second round. That's where you see that show up. Having 2 players on his team there, instead of those 2 picks that he gave up would have been really, really helpful for him. But the big story here is that that Ronald Jones pick looks like a certifiable bust. He was inactive for the game. Coach's decision, did not play at all. Didn't even suit up. So definitely something to track there. If they don't even think they can use him a little, that's definitely concerning for Mr. Jones. But you had to figure Cameron Brate could be worth something, but we'll
I mean,
see.
it's only week one. It could be weekly. It changes.
Yeah,
I
and
think I was a little harsh on that one. But
yeah, I mean, just because he was not get participating in the Fitz magic, it's just with how much with everything that they did on offense, you would have expected Cameron Brate to get like 2 catches for 25 yards or something. Uh, so that's that. Number 7.
well, let's call you on down, Doug. I've got you here. Number 7.
Boo!
Yeah, that's right. You're also the other winning team that got beat out by a losing team. And that's
This
because of
is
your running back play
bullshit.
right now. It's that running back play. I think it'll correct itself, but there is two players that do worry me a little bit. I've not been the biggest Derrick Henry fan. Uh, and Collins, oh boy, those fumbles. That could turn out to be a bad pick. Uh, I think I wouldn't worry yet, but it's a little hesitant by me. That and the fact that Chris Hogan was a disappearing act. Tyreek Hill seems to be your bread and butter right now. Well, the KC offense is your bread and butter right now. You need everything else to step up, and until you show that, I got to put you down here at 8, Dougie.
I'm going to move Mike Williams into the starting lineup. They're playing the Bills.
And I
But
mean, if you plugged in Dion Lewis, the pass catching back, Doug, it might work out for you. Just saying.
he is in there. You see, he's on there. I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can read
Oh,
the
I'm
screen.
looking at my screens for the game that already happened.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, he's in there with some of these other guys. Yeah, I mean, I think the Alex Collins thing's a little bit mitigated by the fact that they destroyed the Bills. So I don't like that. Like they probably don't even remember that fumble,
Well,
right?
yeah,
So
that's the thing that also worries me is they clearly want to. Flacco wants to showcase that he's a good quarterback, and they're going to throw. They should have stopped throwing after the first quarter, and they just kept like Alex Collins should have had
30 carries. Yeah.
15 rushing attempts, not 7. So I don't know.
We'll see what's up with him. One of those situations. I think it's a little too soon to tell, but definitely not exactly on my list of things I'm excited about is him
Yeah,
fumbling, especially because that's a huge concern for him.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6.
Number 6, it's that losing team, the Rabbit College Rampage. If they had played pretty much everyone else except for me or AJ, they would have won. So it's kind of it's a bittersweet loss there. It always sucks to have that kind of performance and still walk away with the L. But I mean, I didn't think his team was gonna do what it did this early. So that's why I got to give some props to what Doug Senior has done with his team. He always and picking up the right players is something that he always does. So to have that roster already locking in and firing away, and you have that kind of ability to grab the right kind of talent off the waivers, that's a recipe for success right there.
Yeah, definitely a team that we can't take lightly, especially because it's only going to get better from this point forward. Big story for me here though was looks like he hit his first pick. Looks like Joe Mixon's going to be a stud for him this
I mean,
year.
it was Indy, but yeah, he did look good.
Yeah, hey, I mean, you gotta win. The great test against the Ravens this week. But when you have a good matchup, you like to see your guys play well.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely a good thing there. Number 5, top 5 teams.
All right, we're in the, well. So we also hit the first playoff team at this moment to me. So number 5 here, Ray worked his way in. I didn't think I was going to have him as high as I did from the way I looked at his roster as we were comparing for week 1. I thought he'd get the win, but I'm a little impressed with how many points he was able to shell out. Uh, I think even though the running backs are a little worrisome, he's still got Michael Thomas, he's still got Michael Crabtree, he's still got Stephon Diggs. If one of those tight ends can do something in the future, I think he can start to win games. With James Conner plugged in at running back now, that's just a huge hit. Philip Dorsett looks great too, in case he wants to switch up his OP. But he's got Russell Wilson and Big Ben, so he doesn't want to do that either. So I think with Big Ben on having a better game at home this upcoming week, I think he's in line to score a bunch more points. So I think he's on the rise. I thought he was going to falter a little bit, but so far it's looking pretty good. James Conner definitely improves the team quite quickly.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like Lev Bell is coming back anytime soon. And the
Nope.
longer he stays away, the better it is for Mister Krobach and his cookie snatchers. Has a tough game this week though against Karlov.
And one hell of a keeper, even though he took him a little early, it seemed at the time.
Yeah, I mean anything that's I think it's like the 11th round or something like that.
Yeah.
So the fourth overall team.
The fourth here, I had to go with Queef Wellington here, Carlos' team.
That's UML champion Queef Wellington actually.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, I mean, he's still got the best wide receivers in the league, and as you can see here, he could have his running backs put up garbage, and he still can manage to put up 151 points. So I don't see that slowing him down. I think he's going to have his bad weeks, and it's going to cost him. That's the price you pay with not having a steady running back core to get you through every win. But I mean, streaking at the right time is how you win a championship. That's what he did last year. There's no reason this team couldn't do it again. It's just too much firepower, too many points. He's got to stay up here in the higher ranks, even with that horrible running back play.
Now, does the Ryan Fitzpatrick game give you cause for pause with famous Jameis?
It makes me think about it now. When the first reports came out that they weren't sure that he could be the week 5 starter, I kind of just tossed that up as complete bullshit and didn't even think. This at least makes me think about it. I think we'll see when they play, the best defense in the league, most likely the Philadelphia Eagles this week. We may see a different kind of Fitzpatrick. But even if he does play well, I feel like I'm thinking about it. I still don't think it will happen, but it's definitely a thought now.
Yeah, I'm sure it's on the Buccaneers coaching staff's mind, but I mean, he still is Ryan Fitzpatrick. We've seen this movie many times before.
Yeah.
So, he will come back down to earth. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing performance from him, though. Not to take anything away from him. The top 3. There's a team in the top 3 there, Connor.
Yeah, I think he may not stay up here too long. We'll see, but from when we had talked about this on the last pod, it was kind of like he could squeak out the win. It could happen, but I don't know. He goes out and he puts up 186 points, and it's a lot of people are now thinking, oh, it was a fluke week. It's not a big deal, but if you run through that roster, he's got Jared Goff. He's got a revitalized Joe Flacco. He could do worse there. Josh Allen's going to get the opportunity to start. He could be a good plug-and-play fantasy guy on bye weeks. You've got Saquon Barkley, who looks everything like a stud running back. Marshawn Lynch clearly looks like John Gruden wants that classic, smash football, and Marshawn Lynch is the perfect guy for that. He's a bit past his he's definitely past his peak, but he can still pound it through. You saw him get a touchdown. If you get that every game, every week, they're going to be devising a scheme to make that happen. So that's a great running back too. And then he's got the players like Eckler and even Buck Allen, even though we were harsh on that pick, along with Sproles and Duke Johnson. That running back core is looking a lot more solid than it did after the draft. And the wide receivers, you look at the wide receiver core and you think not much of it. But what we're looking at on this roster, and one of the big reasons why he won this week, is that he's got the number 1 wide receiver for the Jets and the Miami Dolphins. Now, those aren't, your dream teams to have the number 1 wide receiver for, but it does matter. Enunwa is clearly beloved by Sam Darnold, and Kenny Stills is proving what he proves pretty much every year and nobody ever pays attention to. So that wide receiving core is instantly upgraded. And now with Jonnu Smith coming in at Tennessee with the Delaney Walker news, he's got a tight end. With Jack Doyle as your second tight end, that's pretty good. I think this roster immediately upgraded. If he can make the right moves to keep that bench fresh and have something to plug in on bye weeks, this team could be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, it's very an unheralded wide receiver core, and I agree. I think Kenny Stills might be like the most underrated receiver in the league. Like nobody ever thinks of him. Like basically when they traded Jarvis Landry, everyone's like, oh, they have no receivers. It's like, okay, Kenny Stills can play. Kenny Stills is better than Devontae Parker. So
that's half of why he's been hindered, is that they keep trying to get Devontae Parker involved. And I think this might be the year that they finally give up on him, and we can see Stills just get what he wants finally.
Yeah, good player. the tight end position seems to be okay for now, at least while Vance McDonald is injured for Pittsburgh. But Jonnu Smith, like you said, that pick is going to be
that's going to be a huge pick for him there.
Yeah, Antonio Callaway, I think you could probably move on from him, but get a receiver that you can use. That I think would be my advice to AJ here. But great start to the season.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm assuming you're putting yourself second here, Connor.
Oh hell no. Number 2 is the old man who just lost out on Le'Veon Bell. You better be lucky if he's going to be up here much longer. You better work at it.
So Kev Dog, you have at number 2, and we touched on this briefly in the game recap segment. Are you not as worried as the rest of us about the fact that this team seems to kind of be falling apart a little bit? You lose Delaney Walker, you lose. It looks like you're not going to have Le'Veon Bell at all this year. It's and who knows how long Jordan Reed lasts. Dak Prescott looked like shit along with the whole Cowboys offense. I mean, we know Kevin's going to work the waiver wire. Mike Gillislee is actually the worst running back in fantasy right now, which is hysterical.
I'm sure he's sitting there waiting for you to bring that up.
But is it just how deep he's not at that stage yet? Is that why he's still so high?
The reason is he's probably one of the few teams that can survive what's already happened. Like right now, if most rosters had, like say Joe, if he had Todd Gurley go down the way Le'Veon Bell did, instantly Joe's team is in the toilet, you know. Whereas, I mean, already he plugged in Chris Thompson, he plugged in James White, 24, 15 points apiece. You know, with Delaney Walker down, he's going to be able to plug in Njoku. He's still got tons of wide receiver depth. He's still got tons of running back depth. Well, not tons, but some. He's got to find a new Mike Gillislee to harp on you on, Doug. But you know, he's still got Drew Brees, who looks.
I think Matt Jones is available in free agency.
And you know, I think that there's a team that can survive it. It is the Toe Point Trippers. So that's why he's still number 2. He's got to show that he can move on and correct it. He's not in the clear or anything. He's still got a lot of worries, but he's plugged all the holes quite easily, even with some of the most horrendous things happening to his team.
Absolutely. All right, Connor. Go ahead and gloat.
Yeah, I'm going to take about 15 minutes here, Doug. You can just, you can leave the room. No, I do have a lot of worry with my team, even though I put myself at 1. My quarterbacks need to improve. They've been a problem. But the rest of my team is looking fantastic. I lost Greg Olsen probably for almost the whole season. He's probably going to be a IR stash unless something else happens. I need to put somebody else there. But, you know, the tight end and quarterback position are the least worrisome to me. So I still think my team is primed and ready to just kick ass this season. Alvin Kamara, that regression really hit him hard in week 1, I'll tell you that. So
yeah, seriously.
So, I mean, David Johnson can still pull out 17 points when his team is humiliated. You know, I know a lot of people are worried that he's taking a huge hit in production with his team being so bad, but great players just find a way to make points, and I think David Johnson's still going to continue to do that. Is he going to have a worse season than he could have on a better team? Yes, but he's still such a good caliber of player that I'm not that worried. And Elliott's still going to get his. Hopefully the line will come together a bit more. But my wide receivers are a huge improvement from last season, and I've just got all the depth I could ask for on the bench, so I'm number 1. I should be first.
Oh, man. So, guys, make sure you work the waiver wire so that you can knock Connor off his high horse when you play him. He's got a matchup against the Penguins this week, and we will spin right there into our week 2 preview. What's that?
Was that a segue?
That was a segue.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Fozzie fullbacks 1 is the projection. Without, I think that's with missing 1 tight end, 1 kicker, and 1 defense. Is that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And those are pretty much the only spots where Tim is supposed to have an advantage. You also haven't put Sam Darnold in the lineup, which I imagine you will over Nick Foles. So this is going to be I think this game's going to be a bloodbath. Personally, Tim just doesn't have the horses for this race.
Never say never, but I've got to definitely still play the waiver wire to shore my lineup back up. But I think if I can get the right players or the right defense, I think I'll be in good shape still.
Awesome. Without spending too much time on that. Cookie Snatchers, Queef Wellington, the only matchup, I think, unless I'm wrong, of undefeated teams this week. Which one is going to stay undefeated, Connor?
This is a tough one.
Yeah. It's probably your game of the week, honestly.
Yeah, I think I'd call it that too, because both these teams can hit hot, and they can both go cold really easily. I'm gonna give the edge to Carlo because Russell Wilson has to go up against that Chicago D, and unless he goes out there on one leg like Aaron Rodgers, I think he's going to struggle a little bit. But that Pittsburgh matchup against KC is so sweet, though. It's going to be tough for Carlo. This is going to be a really good game.
Yeah, this is one to track.
I just keep looking and thinking I found the answer who will win, and then I see another jump out at me. This is going to be a good game.
I'm not sure who to pick. I'm going to go with Ray, I think. I just think Ray has the advantage of quarterback and has the advantage of running back, and I think his receivers will do enough to keep pace with Carlos guys. And we'll see about the kicker defense. But really, this one's a toss-up. This could go either way. This should be an interesting matchup. It's a shame someone's got to lose.
If we see LaShawn McCoy play like he did last week, then yeah, it's going to get ugly for Carlo.
Yeah, for sure. Toe point trippers, Pain Train, Kevin with the 21-point advantage according to ESPN's projections. Is there any way the Pain Train pulls us out short of pulling off a massive trade rape?
Hearing that Drew Brees decided he wanted a better contract and he's going to sit too, maybe if that happens. But no, I think my dad's very lucky to have the matchup he has. No offense to Alex, but like I said, a lot of his players are just not performing whatsoever. And I think my dad has the depth to combat that pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the tight end matchup here, I think, is kind of interesting. Alex is kind of like an up and comer at the position, but I think George Kittle's the real deal. Despite he had a horrible drop, I don't know if anybody saw that or not.
I laughed at that one. It was pretty weird.
I mean, that was going to be like a 60-yard game.
He did that.
But
I thought Ricky was supposed to do that.
Yeah, he's gonna. Good God. But no, Alex has just gotta be more active on the waiver wire, and he should be able to avoid the toilet seat. Any expectations above that, I think he's kidding himself. Moving on to the next game here, you've got the D's Nates versus Team Man Bear Pig. The projection is basically dead even at 131. Who you got?
I'm gonna ride hard with the Team Man Bear Pig again. I think he's got some magic working for him, and I think he's gonna have enough. Nate would do well to get this win if he wants a better seeding for the first pick tournament or to avoid the toilet seat. But I don't think this would be the week for Nate to get that first win. I think AJ will go 2-0.
Yeah, Nate, go ahead and cut Kiki QT if you want to. Not going to have a whole lot of value for you this year. But yeah, I'm going to go with AJ. He put up just so many points last week. I think he can do enough to get the win here. Broadway Joes versus the Rabbit College Rampage. Line is just about even. Rampage by 6. Do you see the new dad picking up his first win or the old man grabbing his first win of the season?
I think the old man's going to look like he got a hip replacement, and he's going to be dancing all over the Broadway Joes.
Yeah, I don't know that Joe has got a whole lot going for him. I don't think we're going to get another 30-point game out of Deshaun Jackson. I just think there's too much on the other side of the ledger here. I think we see Broadway Joes, will not be renewed through the weekend here.
Would be nice to see Watson and Fuller connect against a Tennessee team that's going to be struggling, especially if they don't have Mariota, though.
Yeah, be just so far behind. All right, the Texans might be so far ahead that it won't matter, though. So
yeah, that too.
Suck My Ditka projected to currently beat the White Sharks by 23 points. is there any reason to think that that Adam's going to pull this off with all of with the injuries piling up on a roster that's not that great to begin with?
Yeah, well, if he plays Doug Baldwin this week, it's definitely going to be bad news for him. But yeah, I think Steve's team should have put up more points last week, and I don't think it'll do it 2 straight weeks in a row.
So Steve improves to 2-0 against the White Sharks. We agree on there. Adam's got some serious moving and shaking to do on that bench. I think you got to cut Adam Shaheen outright so you can put one of these other injured players on your IR spot and free up that roster spot. The opportunity cost of keeping Adam Shaheen is really killing that team right now.
Yep.
Last game, I believe, Muppets versus Bushes. Bush is projected to win this one by 15. I don't have a defense. Longbush is projected to win this one by 10-ish. What's your thoughts on this guy?
Pat's got to win this one. Hopefully Marlon Mack will be back. Hopefully Devontae Freeman will be healthy enough to go. I think with the Carolina matchup, he'll be the better of the 2 Atlanta running backs off of his pass catching ability. And if Travis Kelce can be the guy instead of Tyreek Hill this week, that could be the dagger right there. If Travis Kelce becomes the hot player of the week and Tyreek Hill takes a back seat, like we saw last year, the high game, low game, that could be the deciding factor of this matchup.
Yeah, I think if you think Pat's beating me, you're really burning some bush over there. I think the Murder Muppets just going to take it to him on all levels here. Patrick Mahomes, 14 touchdown passes. Alex Collins going to run for 2, throw for 2. It's going to be fantastic. Kareem Hunt, 200 yards. Apparently, I'm going to score like 600 points according to this analysis. But Murder Muppets all day long and twice on Sunday.
So that's a dream, Doug.
I'm going to go ahead and turn off the screen share here. Guys, thanks so much for listening / watching to the Ultimate Man's League podcast. I think we're going to try to do power rankings every week on one of these shows. Connor, is there anything you want to add before we sign off?
Good luck to everybody. Stay active. Let's see some good waiver claims.
Work those waivers, guys. Definitely for sure. And like Connor said, good luck to everybody but Pat. So konnichiwa, bitches. We will see you next Tuesday around the same time. All right. Later.